Mr. Kushal Dutta, for having me here discuss with you the African Union recently launched passport and its implications for the tourism and travels industry. First, can you share with us the value of having this passport?
Well, I would say it's a great news for all the people concerned with the travel and tourism industry, and it's a great thing for the Africans as a whole. I mean, I will draw an example similar to Europe. You know, when you have the EU kind of a passport, and I hope to see this AU passport to be the same thing. You can imagine, like in Africa, we have huge amount of potential, and we all Africans belong to the same continent. We have so much of trouble from traveling to one country to the other simply because of the visa restrictions, which should not be the case. And therefore, I think it's a very good news for all of us, and it's only going to improve the socio-economic structure of Africa, and it is also which will in turn increase the employment. So it's a great news for all of us.
Now, share with us how the AU passport will change the face of tourism and travels in Africa and Nigeria.
Yeah, like I said, it will change completely. For example, when you have easier transit to different countries and from one country to the other, then you will have a lot of domestic travelers traveling within Africa, which is not the case right now. And that would also increase in terms of logistics. For example, today traveling from one country to the other, it's not only about the visa hazards, but also about the cost that you incur to travel from one country to the another. Why is it so? Because for an example, if you want to travel from Abuja to Dakar, it's very difficult for you because you have very few flights. Why? Because there are not much of traffic. So just imagine you have to go to Kenya and then you go back to Dakar, and that incurs a lot of air mile, and that makes your travel expensive. So I'm hoping with the introduction of AU passports, you will have more people traveling to specific locations, and therefore the cost of the travel and the ease of the travel will be much more, which will further encourage more domestic tourism. And therefore it is good for the economy and for all of us.
As a major player in the Nigerian and African tourism and travels market, can you share with us, Mr. Dutta, how this recently launched AU passport will impact your business?
Yeah, that's a very good question. You know, if you see Jumia Travel as a company, we are Africa's #1 tourism company, you can say, travel and travel industries, in the travel industry. So in Africa, we already have the nexus ready. Like we work in different hubs. We have our hub offices in West Africa in Lagos. We have it in Dakar. We are also having offices in Kenya and in all other countries that you go to. So we are present in almost all countries in Africa that you can think about. So from our end, our infrastructure is ready. All we want is to serve more people, and we are hoping with this AU passports, when more people travel within Africa, it will just be perfect for us to help people find the best hotel and at the lowest price. And you already know we already have 25,000 hotels only within Africa in our inventory. So that's the biggest inventory. So for us, we are ready with the hotels, we are ready with the best rates, and we are ready to help Africans to travel more within Africa and therefore develop the whole economy.
What are the opportunities from the AU passport being launched as it concerns the African and Nigerian tourism and travels industry?
Yeah, so if you talk about tourism industry, it will have a huge impact, because I'll talk about 3 different data points to you. Number 1, the influx of the international traffic to Africa. If you see the data, by 2030, it is expected that 88 million international travelers would come to Africa. Now, this data is without the support of AU passports. When you have more AU passports, you will see more domestic travelers traveling within Africa. So number 1. Number 2, if you see the size of the revenue that comes from the domestic traffic already is huge. In 2015 alone, you had 62% was the contribution of travel and tourism to the direct to the GDP percentage compared to the export traveling. Therefore, domestic travel has a huge potential, and by 2026, it is supposed to grow at 4.5% per annum to reach 123 billion US dollars, which is amazing. And the third data point is, you know, this traffic and this AU transport and the traveling sector, it creates a huge impact on the unemployment problem of Africa. If I give you the simple data, the travel and tourism sector alone has employed 9 million people in 2015, which is huge. And this is 3% of the total employment that has happened. For 2016, we are expecting to increase it by 0.3%, which will be 2.9% of total employment. And if you see the forecast of 2026, we are expecting 11.7 million people to be employed by travel and tourism sector. Which is a huge number, in fact. And if you come back to Nigeria, from our perspective, we are extremely hopeful, and Nigeria is right now, we need it very much because of the oil prices and how our economy is. So we are in dire need to diversify our economy, and therefore travel industry and tourism industry as a whole is considered to be one of the major player for creating and generating employment. So for us, this is a very good news.